2021 in gaming is upon us. We are here, and I'm here to cover about 20 games in January, February, and March, the first quarter of 2021, that you might want to keep your eyes peeled for. I've got a plethora. That's right, a plethora of games covering indies, AAAs, and everything in between. If you're a gamer with a certain niche, there's probably a game coming out this first quarter that might fit that specification just for you. So stick around, I'm going to keep my mug off screen, we're going to go into some gameplay, give you a quick overview, and let you know what games are coming out in the next 3 months. Let's do it. Alright, might as well start off with the beginning of January. Now, the beginning of January starts off a little bit slow, but then on the 14th, we have our first kind of game worth looking at in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The Game, Complete Edition. Now, that's a mouthful. This is going to be released, as you can see, on quite a few platforms, and this is really an excellent film that saw the release of a surprisingly well-received beat-em-up video game back in 2010. So we're talking 10 years later, we're getting the Ultimate Edition with tons of updates, modern console support, so grab a few friends. This is going to be a pretty good time. If you missed this on the first release, this is definitely a great time to pick up Scott Pilgrim, a good 4-player beat-em-up game that really has that Streets of Rage, classic TMNT, The Simpsons, but obviously with some modern twist to it. So Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, watch the movie, then grab the game, and then grab some buddies and have a good time. Hitman 3 coming out January 20th. Now, Agent 47 is still kicking, and this is the culmination of the trilogy, the most recent trilogy. With locations from the previous 2 games available on this one, there should be plenty of options to track down and eliminate your target. The Hitman games are always really expansive in terms of your outfits and the ways you can actually eliminate your targets, and I think this one is just going to expand on those and make this the best one yet. So I hope that it can live up to the hype, because this definitely has quite a few people excited, especially if you're a Hitman fan. And with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X support, should definitely have some really ridiculous graphics. The Medium is a Series X/S and PC exclusive, bringing horror to a living room near you. Now, the interesting thing is, this game is not just your typical survival horror. Obviously, you gotta start mixing it up, and this has 2 versions of the same world in play that you can switch between. So essentially, you've got this spirit world and you have a real world, and you can bounce between them as you're moving forward in the game to basically tackle it however you want. It's definitely a unique gameplay with a familiar genre. So the Medium is one that if you have an Xbox or a PC, this might be one to check out, especially if you need to fill that horror niche in your life. Described as a fast-paced loot shooter, we have Everspace II dropping, and this is a really cool one because it's a PC exclusive, at least starting off, and it utilized a Kickstarter to get funded. And when you have Kickstarters, that means there's some passionate people behind it. And the previews definitely give me some hope, but this is not just your average space combat game. This is an open-world space RPG. So I always think of open world as like the greatest. Like The Witcher 3 is obviously an open world game, Skyrim. And to think about that type of game in space gets me pretty excited. Now, being a smaller developer, I don't honestly know how large this space or this world's going to be, but the idea of a loot shooter in space, open world, sounds pretty cool. So I'm definitely keeping my eyes out on this one. Moving into February, now we get a huge hitter, and this is Outriders. February 2nd, we have Mass Effect meets Diablo. That is what IGN said, and this is Square Enix's latest foray. It's featuring drop-in, drop-out multiplayer with up to 3 people. This action RPG looter shooter has a ton of buzz, and it really might be the first must-play title of the new year. So I'm definitely keen on this one. Just a couple days later, on February 4th, we have Werewolf, The Apocalypse, Earthblood. And this is based on White Wolf Publishing's tabletop RPG, which I've never even heard of or played, and part of the larger World of Darkness series. So if you're a fan of that, then this is definitely for you. But the premise behind this game, regardless of whether I'm the tabletop RPG fan or not, has me interested. You take on the role of an eco-terrorist werewolf. That doesn't even make sense. Who has been banished from your tribe and must take on the Pentex Corporation and the destruction they are causing due to pollution. Okay, so we're all about preserving the earth. I get it. Taking place along the American Northwest, right in my neck of the woods, you can shapeshift from human to werewolf or even wolf form and get missions accomplished. I'm definitely intrigued about this. Not a whole lot of games have you taken on the old werewolf form, at least like this in a game where it's kind of an RPG style where you can bounce between different forms to get missions accomplished. So I really hope that this game is a lot of fun, because I definitely have some high hopes riding on this one. February 5th, we got the Neo collection. Now, obviously, Neo 1, Neo 2 have been out for a little while, but if you didn't play them and you have a PS5, this is going to be the most updated, best version. PS5 owners, there's been a little bit of games coming out, but really it's been pretty quiet these first couple months. So the Neo collection, if you missed it on the PS4, might be one to pick up. Definitely got a passionate fan base. Definitely got a tough gameplay experience. This shouldn't have any trouble selling copies if you're a fan of the series. Next up, we got a little indie title, Little Nightmares 2, coming out February 11th. Puzzle adventure fans can get a splash of horror in their lives with Little Nightmares sequel. With 6, the previous game's main character, being a computer-controlled ally now, you actually control a new protagonist. The PS5 and Series X release will be out a little bit later in 2021, but originally you're going to get on the PS4, the Xbox, the PC, and the Switch, and not a whole lot to say about this, except if you're a Little Nightmares fan, then you kind of already know what you're getting yourself into with this one. Next up is a game that I have actually been asking for, and they must have heard me because it's happening. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury is coming out on the Switch. Originally a Wii U title, finally getting ported to the Switch, but we're not just getting a basic port, we're getting a full-on expansion called Bowser's Fury. And it also happens to feature 4-player co-op with both local and online support. So that's pretty cool. So we're getting a Wii U port with some updated stuff with a 4-player co-op, online and local, as well as an expansion. So that's kind of the way I think you should really be bringing games over. Instead of getting the same exact game, make it worth our while. So really appreciate that. And for you Amiibo lovers out there, there's going to be a Cat Mario and Cat Peach Amiibo also getting released along with this game. So prepare to spend about $100 you want to collect all of that and the game. All you sadists out there from the early NES and Super Nintendo days will be happy to see that Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is dropping the end of February. Now, this isn't a remake, this isn't a remaster, this is going to take everything you love about Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts, and you're going to be getting a new game from Capcom in that world. This game is tough. It is one that I've really not even played a lot of, but I've seen a ton of playthroughs. So Captain Algebra, Megadan29, I have a few buddies that are going to be loving this game. I'm guessing they're going to be getting this on day one. So if you're a Ghosts and Goblins fan, or you just want to play a tough side-scrolling action platformer, then have at it. Also on February 25th, we have Riders Republic. Now this drops on pretty much all consoles, and it's interesting. It's an extreme sports lover's dream, at least if the game holds up, and it might be a hidden gem. What this is, it actually takes 5 different extreme sports, from skiing, snowboarding, downhill biking, wingsuiting, which is wild. Wingsuiting, that is ridiculous. And then the last one is rocket wingsuiting. I didn't even know there was such a thing as rocket wingsuiting. But hey, the idea of flying around in some wingsuit with a rocket attached to you sounds pretty interesting. And you do these events in 7 open-world national parks. And this is actually by the creators of the pretty popular game Steep. So this could be really, really fun. The idea of going into 7 national parks as an open-world game, except you're doing extreme sports, could be really fun. All I can think of is like climbing a mountain and then jumping off it with your wingsuit. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to pick this one up, but I'll definitely be watching some playthroughs and really want to see if this could be one of the hidden gems of the first quarter. We're still in February 26th, and we have Bravely Default 2, another Square Enix game in February, but it's a Switch exclusive. And this game really is the 3rd game in the series, but it's got the number 2 behind it. So anyway, if you're a fan of Bravely Default, you kind of know. I think the 3rd game, or the 2nd game, I believe, was actually on the DS. It was a handheld game, so I can see the name behind Bravely Default 2. But anyway, RPG fanboys probably have this one penciled in as a sick day on their calendar already. So if you're a fan of RPGs, you got to Switch. This is definitely one to keep an eye out. And finally, after all the hype on the PS5 release, we're going to get Destruction AllStars in February. Now, the cool thing with this is that since it was supposed to be a console launch and it didn't happen, we are now able to get this on the PS5 in February, and it's going to be free for those of us who have a PlayStation Plus membership. So this vehicular on-foot combat game, which sounds just weird even saying it, vehicular on-foot combat, anyway, is now going to be basically a free title for the PS Plus members. So there's no point to not have a PS Plus membership because the game itself, with bug snacks being free in this, if you're a PS5 owner, is well worth the price of admission. So Destruction All-Stars finally makes it to a PS5 near you. We're out of the monstrous month of February and jumping into March. And the first one coming out in March is Harvest Moon One World. Now, I believe it's a Switch and PS4 game. And this franchise has been around for decades. Longtime fans know what they're going to be getting into. Farming, romance, raising animals, all a mainstay. But this is going to be the biggest world yet. Farming Simulator has nothing on Harvest Moon. Now, Farming Simulator had a little more drama. Maybe throw in a few angry farmhands, bad crop, pissed off neighbor. Then maybe it gets more love. But until then, you got to go with Harvest Moon if you want to get that farming life in. Another game that's got me a little excited, gonna have to wear 2 pairs of underwear when this one drops, is Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake. Now that comes out March 18th, and this is really one of, if not the best, Prince of Persia games ever made, although I still love the old SNES version. And it's getting a well-deserved remake on pretty much all platforms except Switch for now, although a recent leak popped out saying that the Switch is probably going to be getting a port at some point. A great story, fun gameplay, and the ability to control time to solve puzzles. That's what this game is all about, and really what made it kind of revolutionary when it came out. Can Ubisoft catch lightning in a bottle again with a few tweaks and updated visuals? I definitely hope so. Moving on to Returnal. Now, Returnal is from the developers that brought you Resogun, or Resogun, however you want to pronounce it. I can never get it right. But they're branching out. They're not doing a twin-stick shooter this time. They're going to be doing a third-person shooter that is supposed to be pretty roguelike in its gameplay. With an alien world that will continually build itself around your choices, deaths, and progression, this PS5 exclusive could be one to keep an eye on. I love that games now are just, like, AI behind games are just ridiculous. We have worlds that can just build themselves around you. It's almost insane to think about that you can just have a game that basically takes on a mind of its own. So this will be a pretty fun one, especially for those roguelike people that love that challenge. At the end of March, we have Ballon Underworld, PC and Switch exclusive. Now, Square Enix has been busy, and this is the 3rd game on this list, but when Square Enix puts a game out, gotta give it some love. And basically, I'm getting this weird Alice in Wonderland vibe from this game, and I think it actually takes place in a game called Wonderworld, so it does make sense. This is an action platformer based around theater, and you help 2 young heroes in the aforementioned Wonderworld. 12 stages with tricks, traps, and enemies. You'll explore to actually find, I believe, around 80 costumes that give you abilities, and they make tasks more attainable. So some costumes, I think you can stop maybe time, or you can create air pockets, you can freeze water, things like that. So each costume definitely gives you different abilities, and these 3D platformers always have a soft spot in my heart, so I'll be keeping a close eye on this one. It Takes Two. That's the name of a game dropping that I think if you're into co-op gameplay, you've got to pick this up. If you played A Way Out or Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, then this is literally going to be right up your alley. I played A Way Out with my buddy Matt. We had a blast. It is 100% co-op. You cannot play it any other way, and I'm not sure if It Takes Two is going to be in the same vein, but I'm pretty sure it is. And when the game director says this game will blow your effing mind, that's a direct quote. It better deliver. So when you hear that, come on, this has to be a decent game. Now, I know John Romero was saying crap back in the day and disappointed, but I'm hoping that It Takes Two is going to live up to the hype, especially if you need a good co-op experience. This one might be the one game in particular that might fill that co-op void. Getting down to the nitty-gritty here, we have Monster Hunter Rise coming out exclusively on the Switch. Now, oddly enough, with the success of Monster Hunter across all platforms, the next 2 entries in the series are Switch exclusives. Monster Hunter Rise comes out first, and then later we get Wings of Ruin, both Switch exclusives, like I said. And so with that, Monster Hunter fans have something to look forward to after the recent movie flop that was a massive disappointment to not only film enthusiasts, but also to gamers. So Monster Hunter Rise coming out on the Switch the end of March. And rounding out the list, we have a tactical RPG known as King's Bounty 2, coming on pretty much every platform. Now, the interesting thing is, this is King's Bounty 2. Did you ever play the original King's Bounty? Probably not. You want to know why? It was released in, wait for it, 1990. That's right, 30 years later, a sequel is dropping. Now, there have been some spin-offs on the King's Bounty title, but this is the first true sequel to the original game. So hey, it's never too late apparently, and if you're a tactical RPG fan, this might fill that void for you. So that rounds up the list. The first 3 months of 2021, I've got you covered right here. Hit some of the big ones. Obviously, there's a bunch of games coming out that I didn't cover, but these are the ones I think people are going to be the most interested in. And what game has you going, okay, all right, I might check that out. For me, I don't know how you can discount Outriders. I have probably got to pick that one up and at least give it a look. But there's a bunch of other really cool games, some great indies coming out that I'm definitely looking forward to. So let me know in the comments below, after you smash that subscribe button and leave it a like, what game you think you're going to be picking up day one, or at least you're really interested in and want to hear at least some reviews, some previews, or maybe make your buddy pick it up, pay full price, and if it's worth it, then you'll grab it. All right, everybody, thanks for hanging out. As always, keep trolling, keep rolling. We'll see you next time.